What's going on, guys? My name is Jesse, and welcome back to the channel. Today we got our Logan review with my brother Justin. Say what's up.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another one.
It's good to be back, right?
It always is, man. It's so much fun.
Yeah, we haven't done one of these in a while because it wasn't that many movies to review after Star Wars. So this is the first big blockbuster of the year, which is funny that it came out so early. What do you think about that? Because so many blockbusters shoot for that summer release date, and this what came out early March.
Well, I think that it gave it a good opportunity to have its own time to shine, which is really important. But it also excites me a little bit because that means we get to, we have this great movie, and then we can slowly build our way into all the other blockbusters that are going to come out right around that summertime.
Right.
And we have a great bar to base them off of for this year.
Right. I've heard a lot of reviewers and critics say that if there's 9 or 10 movies that are better than this movie, it's going to be one of the best years in film history because Logan is really good. And if it gets knocked out of the top 10, especially since it was released so early, I'd be shocked, to be honest.
No, I 100% agree with you. I can't see that happening, to be completely honest. But if it's going to happen, this would be the perfect year for it. There's a lot of great movies set to come out.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to this year in filmmaking.
Yeah, especially with Episode 8 and all of the Marvel movies that are going to come out this year and Wonder Woman. Should be a great year. I'm excited. Let's give it a out of 10 score for Logan before we jump into the spoiler stuff. For me, it is 9.5 out of 10 stars. What do you think?
Oh, I'm just a little below you. I'm at a 9. I think that it's a really good film. I think that it's a big step away from what you would consider part of the superhero genre with how dark it is as a Western.
Yeah.
But it really holds true to what you would expect out of a Western. And to see it with the superheroes mixed in, it's great. It's a really great genre.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible genre film. I hear a lot of critics saying that it's a Western based on comic book characters. And I agree with that. I think it's very much the darkest comic book movie we've ever had. Considering the things that it's handling with death and getting older and having a new daughter come into the mix, I think those things kind of make it more dark than necessarily like The Dark Knight.
Where it's not just, psychoticness and craziness and killing. It's more about the darker side of life and what you see towards the end and not just what you see in the middle.
Yeah. All right, well, the rest of this is going to be spoiler. I mean, that's what we do is we talk about what happened in these movies. So if you haven't seen Logan, please click off the video now, hit the like button, and then come back after you've seen it. So, Justin, what do you think about Hugh Jackman's last performance as Wolverine?
Oh, dude, it hurts to see him go, but to leave on this note, I feel like it's perfect. I feel like to see Hugh Jackman really give it his all in this last movie and go out the way he did, I couldn't see him coming back any other way than what he's talked about. I don't know if you heard that he would be interested in coming back only if it's for an Avengers movie.
Right.
And that would be great to see, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
I've never heard that, but that does sound super interesting. I would be super down for that. I mean, it's hard for him to come back after having such a great send-off. I mean, because this movie just ends his story perfectly. You know, we've had so many Wolverine movies and so many X-Men movies that it can be very hard to keep track of. I actually saw a video on Cinefix called A Timeline of Wolverine, and it's just insane. It's like taking the master's class on Logan's timeline. I mean, it's incredible.
And I think the worst thing they could ever do would be try and bring him back at this point, and bring back someone they've already killed off like they've done with previous characters, and that's a scary thought. And I'm really glad to see that he's not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
And that the only way he's going back is if it's a reboot for the Avengers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think his performance is great, and I think it is very hard. I think I told you after the movie that it's very hard to watch Wolverine be vulnerable because he is the all-powerful. You can't kill him. He's like Deadpool, where he's got the healing factor. You can't kill him. I mean, how many times has he survived things he shouldn't have survived? Like in the comic books, he came back from being a speck to full health, right? So it's impossible to kill him. So to see him having problems with his healing factor is very hard to watch at times.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, there are times in the film where you see him get shot and you don't expect him to falter and to fall backwards.
Right.
You kind of expect him to go right through it, or in the very end when Laura is burying him with the rocks, you kind of expect the rocks to move at the end to be something, but there's not, and it's that realization that he's really gone.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very tough death scene. I want to talk about that a little later. But I also want to talk about Daphne Keane. She played Laura. I thought she was
Mm-hmm.
incredible, and from what I understand, she's from Spain, and that she is a acrobat and a little bit of a gymnast. So I guess she did a lot of her stunts in this movie, which is insane to me.
That's really cool, actually, and I give major props to her for being able to do how do I put this? Such an emotionally captivating character at such a young age, and it's not something that you see nowadays. Younger roles are usually not given as much emphasis, but
Yeah.
she was a real key factor in this movie, and she does it beautifully.
Yeah, especially with as little lines as she got in the movie. I mean, she doesn't speak for literally half the movie. She does not speak. And it's such a brutal performance. The things that she's doing are like crazy hard to watch sometimes. Her just killing people at will with no remorse. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's insane. It's hard to watch sometimes.
And I still think the favorite part of the scene for me is when she just punches Wolverine in the face. I couldn't see a little girl doing that to Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
You know, I,
The shock on his face once he gets punched in the face is really funny too.
and there's just not many people that could pull that off, and she does it really well.
Yeah, I also like the villain in this movie, Boyd Holbrook. He plays Pierce. He plays the guy
Yeah.
with the metal arm or metal forearm. I thought his like charisma and swagger and like the confidence that he had made him a very intimidating villain, even though he seems very cool and calm, especially at the beginning when he's just in the back of Logan's limo and he's just kind of talking to him and he's just like, wow, this guy is Wolverine, man. Are you sure you're just going to hop back here and expect him not to kill you? You're a confident guy.
I think of it a lot like the pro wrestling story where he's the bad guy that you love to hate. Like
Yeah,
everything about him, you just wanted to see him get his ass beat in every scene, and he
yeah.
never does until the end. And that gives a good side to it, to where you're not afraid of him as much as you are as you want to see him get taken down.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the end when he gets killed by all the X-23s.
Hmm.
That really came off really corny to me. That's one of the only things I didn't like in the movie. We'll talk about it a little later once we get closer to the end of this because it is at the very end of the movie. Because
Absolutely.
literally, Logan is fighting the Wolverine clone, and he's dying. He can't win, and Laura's fighting him now by herself, and all the kids are grouped up picking on this guy like one of you guys could have killed him. He was already dead. And they're all
Hmm.
just doing this big. Oh god, it really bothered me because you see
Yeah.
Laura in the background fighting by herself against Wolverine, and you're just like, "What are you guys doing?"
Yeah, it was
So that
extreme
kind of
overkill.
bothered me. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I guess we should talk about Patrick Stewart a little bit because he is incredible in the movie. You also could say that some of the things that happen in the movie are his fault, and you do get a scene when there's the big scene in the hotel in Las Vegas or wherever they're at, the casino.
Uh-huh.
He has a seizure, and then everything stops, and you get an idea of how serious this is and why Logan was holding him in that tank to kind of stop him from having this problem. Can you
It,
speak on that?
it's such a revealing side of Professor Xavier that you don't expect to ever see. You think of someone that, if there was ever someone that could be considered one of the strongest of the mutants, it was going to be Professor Xavier, Magneto, Wolverine, because their abilities were just so limitless.
Yeah,
And with Professor Xavier, that's shown more than anyone. That you really see it in this movie, just how powerful he was and just how contained he kept it. That as he's slowly losing his mind due to ALS and due to Alzheimer's, that you know, it really shows when he loses control, everything goes down with him. Taking an entire building with stopping everyone from even breathing,
yeah,
and that leads to the scene where before he dies, when he's talking about the scene in Westchester where he killed multiple people, which I can only assume is actually at the school, because that's where the
yeah.
school
It's at the
was.
school. Yeah, for sure. It's at the
So he
school.
has to have killed mutants with one of his earlier seizures before he became really aware of his problems.
Right, and that's the flipped version of the comic. In the comic, Logan's the one who killed all the mutants.
Yeah, when he gets
And
controlled by Magneto.
right, and so in this movie, we get the scene on the radio after he's had the seizure, and he kills some people in the. Well, he doesn't kill him. Logan kills him, But on the radio, they say 7 people are dead in a very similar thing that happened in Westchester, where another X amount of people have died. So that kind of gives you the idea that he wiped out the X-Men, or at least most of them.
Mm-hmm. And just being that vulnerable person, seeing him shaking when you first see him and talking to himself.
Yeah.
It's such a deep moment, realizing that this man that was supposed to be the calm mind in the group is slowly going away. It really opened up the scene for me of how dark this movie really was going to be. These are not the people that you once knew. These are not the same superheroes. These are normal people that are going close to death.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let's talk about the story a little bit here, because there are some really good beats in this movie. I mean, it is basically... It's not the big set pieces, even though the big set pieces are awesome. The story is the thing that shines out in this movie. So basically what we have is Logan's in Mexico, right? He's south of the border. And he's got Charles and Caliban with him. And Caliban is kind of helping him out. And there's some really nice, like, light tones at the beginning, as they're kind of like, basically, they're kind of like a couple that are bickering over the old man. Over Charles. So I think that's an interesting dynamic and a good way to poke fun at that.
And I wish we got more backstory into Caliban and why Caliban was friends with Wolverine, because as you learn later on in the movie that Caliban originally helped to hunt down a lot of the last mutants when mutants were starting to be tracked. He was one of the original trackers. And you don't really hear why, when Wolverine asked for Caliban's help, why he actually did. And I would have loved to know that. I would love to know the backstory behind it too, because Wolverine's kind of famous for not having a lot of friends. He's not a friendly type.
Right. I think it's insinuated a little bit that he feels bad about that, and he seeks to help Charles because Charles could locate or hear where the next mutants are if he can find them, and then he could track them down. So I kind of think that's the dynamic there. Maybe not 100%, but I think that's kind of where they're going with it.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really interesting that, we start off the scene, the very first scene of the movie is seeing this beaten down old man, not even able to beat up 5 gangbangers. And you go into how Wolverine has slowly descended from this great muscular hero to this guy that needs help taking care of an old man.
Yeah.
Who's having seizures. And it's really opening of how normal these people are. They're going through the same problems that a lot of us can go through in a normal day.
Right. Yeah. It's a very grounded movie. Some of the beats are definitely very humanizing, as you would say.
Yeah.
So basically, if we skip to the parts until we get to Laura, that's where the most interesting stuff happens. Finding the comic book, I thought, in the movie wasn't as big a deal as a lot of people were making it out to be, as they were saying like it was a big fourth wall break, and it's hard to suspend your disbelief because it's a comic book inside a comic book movie. Whereas it didn't really matter that much to me, because it kind of makes sense to me that if there was real superheroes, there would be comic books after the superheroes, maybe, kind of like Sherlock Holmes with Watson writing the books about Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. And I like that they didn't, if it was really that way, if it was a fourth wall break, they wouldn't have used it as much as they did. This was intended to be like, this is a real thing that's happened. The X-Men were real. The X-Men have come and gone, and now there are comics about them, about how their stories and their adventures and how great they were for people to remember the good times. And and it's really great that they're able to incorporate that properly. You have Logan explain to Laura, these aren't real. We never did any of this. We may have done one thing, and then they expanded 1,000 times over.
Yeah. And the comic book's a huge plot device in this movie, because they pick their safe haven off of Eden in the comic book. They have the coordinates in the comic book, and they're like, as soon as Logan finds out that the coordinates are picked on a comic book, he thinks that the nurse lady was crazy, but in reality they were just picking a meetup spot close to the border, and that's a good way to remember. Everybody has these comic books, go there, right? Which I thought was an interesting play on the it's in the comic books, it's not real, and then he gets there and it is real because they made it real, which is an interesting thought.
And just a little sidebar while we're on this, maybe I missed it in the movie, but I don't understand. Is the mutant ban, is that only in U.S.? Why did they go to Mexico and now they're going up north to Canada? Why is it free in Canada and not in
I
that's something that I never really understood. Wasn't very clear on.
I
It
think
sounded like it was
go
like
ahead.
an international thing for
Yeah.
the mutants to all be banned and be hunted down.
I think it's not that. I think it's the jurisdiction idea that maybe if you get to Canada, they won't let these guys hunt you down. I think that's what they're trying to imply is that like Canada won't extradite you and won't let these guys come in with their choppers and their fucking cop cars and shit and try to track you down.
I guess.
I think
That's kind
that's
of
what they're
vague to
going
me.
for. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it was a little vague on that
Yeah,
one.
it's definitely not described in the movie at all. Neither is why they're in Mexico. I think he's just in Mexico to try to get away.
Well, he's in Mexico trying to get away. I understand that completely. And
Yeah.
then the facility is in Mexico as
Mexico
well. I'm
City.
pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense because they're maybe lenient on laws and they're trying to keep it under wraps.
hmm
You know, that makes sense to me.
Which could also, I guess, mean that Canada's farther away from their control.
Sure,
Seeing as if they're in Mexico City,
sure.
going all the way up through another country, it's going to make it a lot harder for them to be able to forcibly track you down with the manpower they have. And something else, but that's enough of that aside, I guess.
All right, let's fast forward a little bit. They meet Laura. Charles has been talking to her in her mind for a while now. Logan doesn't believe him. They kind of meet up at his hideout. The nurse is dead. The little girl got away though. So basically, what happens is Boyd Holbrook's character tracks him down to Logan's hideout. Right. There's a big fight there with an awesome scene when she pulls out the dude's head, which we both were shocked that it was a head in her hand because it doesn't really look like a head. At first you're just like, what is she carrying in? She's really far
Yeah.
away. And that's just like a really shocking scene, especially since this is a rated R movie.
It was also a little weird how, I guess I understand it now, but I know in the movie theater, you and I were a little confused by, that guy. He looked like he was very important at first.
Yeah,
It
I
was
thought
just
he
as a
was
plot device that we knew that he was gonna die.
yeah, I thought he was a character actor that I've maybe heard of before.
Yeah, he was no name. I don't even think he got a credit.
Yeah, he's credited here. I'm looking at it right now. He's credited under Mohawk because he has a mohawk.
That's but that it just gives us a little bit more identification of this badass guy. Yeah, he just got his head ripped off by a little girl. Yeah, he just got dicked on.
Love you, babe. Have a good day. Yeah, no, I do. I think it's. I really recognize him, but maybe not. Maybe he's just a no-namer character actor, I guess. What do we think about Laura's fighting scenes? They are pretty intense and really fast too.
They are, and they're really I think it goes back to her gymnastic background or her acrobatics background because she's really how to put this. She's really athletic, and she's moving around. She really understands how to move and how to fight, and it's really cool scene to see this little girl fight and beat up all of these adults.
Yeah,
and really hold her own and not give a damn. She's not afraid.
Yeah,
she's not trying to run away. She's full on. She wants them dead.
That also reminds me of my favorite line in the movie with Boyd Holbrook's character again when she's walking out with the guy's head and she's pulling out the claws. It was in the trailer, and it was one of my favorite lines because the way he says, he's like, no, but you could tell he's like really, really nervous. Like, stop, please stop, because I don't want to deal with this. I thought that line delivery was really good. It really could tell the fear in his voice. He doesn't want to deal with this.
And I also love the fact that right after that scene when she runs away, they're all shooting it, and he stops from shooting. And you're thinking, okay, he doesn't want her to die. No, he's stopping them to stop shooting because she'll just heal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's kind of like a anti MacGuffin, where yeah, I thought that was pretty funny as well. It's very meta,
Yeah.
Yeah. I also really like the when we get to the scenes where with the horses and the family. God, what is that guy's name?
Will.
Will? Yeah, Will Munson. Yeah. Eric LaSalle. That's right, Eric LaSalle. I really thought that was really bold and crazy to kill that whole family.
I think it adds still to the feeling that you've always gotten in these X films that Logan breeds death. Logan can't have friends. Logan can't have loved ones.
Right.
And he says it later on in the movie that everyone he cares about dies.
Right.
He has Will is starting to become a friend he cares about. He's dead. His whole family is slaughtered, and Will even turns on him towards the end because he's not happy with what happened.
He blames
his
him
family
for it.
died. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
really think that helped with what happens later in the film with Logan.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Wolverine clone because in that scene where Eric Lascelles' character saves him by running him over with the truck, he's
Mm-hmm.
not winning that fight. Like there's no end to this because he's literally clawing him in the face over and over again, and he's just healing immediately. And it's just like that reminds me of some of the old Wolverine movies with the original Wolverine and X2 and X-Men original, where it's just like he's literally unstoppable, and you're not winning this fight. And if it's not for Eric Lascelles running him into the tractor, he's it's over, right? He's never winning that fight.
Yeah, and it really shows some vulnerability where we've always seen Wolverine on the other side of that fight. Always
Yeah.
one that no matter what you do, he's going to kill you.
Right.
And you're seeing it from the other side, just hoping like, what is going to happen here? Is this the end of Wolverine? Are we going to watch him get killed by his own clone?
Right.
And it's that feeling of just helplessness where he's fighting a losing battle.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that they threw in the group of white dudes who are messing with Eric Lascelles' water because it gives us a really fun Hugh Jackman gets to be super crazy Wolverine one more time because he gets to just rip everybody up right there one time real quick in front of Logan, which I thought was just like it was a cool scene to see, obviously, and it shows you how scary he really is. It puts some real fear into you because you're like, there's no way Logan's gonna win this fight if it's the original Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I agree 100%. And I feel like the clone being in that fight and killing everyone gives us a look at Wolverine from another perspective, because you can think back to the original Logan film or the original Wolverine X-Men films,
Yeah.
and how he would just mow down all these people. And coming from a different perspective, those people that the clone killed aren't necessarily in the wrong. They're assholes.
Oh,
for
they're
messing with
dicks
their
for
neighbors,
sure,
but they're not bad people. And
well,
he just
I don't know.
mows them down mercilessly, and it opens your eyes a little bit to
Well, they
the
shot
other
him.
side.
They shot him. To be fair, he's not there to kill them. They shot him, and then he's supposed to be the original wild animal Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
That if something happens to him, you're dead. And so they shot him, so he just killed everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand. I mean, obviously they don't deserve death, but they did shoot him. Come on.
Wolverine did hit him in the fucking nose and break his neck.
Yeah, so that scene for sure, it is to a point when he's trying to kill him and he can't. It's getting to the point of me where I'm just like, I can't watch this anymore. There's no way you can win. You're just dragging this on, and then finally he gets hit by the truck by Eric Lascelles' character, and then gets shotgun in the face, and that gives them enough time to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also the Charles death scene where he gets stabbed by Logan, and then you get this great scene by Hugh Jackman, or the clone Logan. Logan comes in and grabs Charles and goes, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me," because Charles might have died thinking that Logan killed him.
And it leads to that conscience, that conscience of Logan of knowing that it's that feeling once again that he knows that people around him are going to die. And this is the one person that through it all has always cared about him and has always wanted him to do good.
Yeah.
And to know that he died by his own hands, technically, it hurts more than probably anything else. And that was probably, I'd say that moment was probably sadder than Logan's actual death for me. I legit let a tear out when I saw that happen, and I saw Logan yelling, "It wasn't me." It was hard to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough scene to watch without a doubt. And then you could just see the fear in his eyes that Logan thinks that Charles died thinking that he killed him. So definitely a terribly tough scene to watch. But fast forwarding on to that, we finally get Laura's first words, which are very, very high pitched and very, very fast Spanish. So it's kind of be hard to understand. You're like thinking, well, does she speak in English? And then she starts speaking a little bit of English. And then we get the great scene where she steals a truck to drive Logan to a hospital, which is an interesting scene.
I think what was really interesting about that was this is the second time in this movie where a human, knows that Logan is a mutant, and is still willing to help him.
Yeah.
You know, you have the scene with Will pointing out that he knows Charles the mutant. He tells him, you know, how long should Dad be a mutant since the beginning. You know, they've been around since the beginning for it. And now you have the Doctor saying, "I've never gotten a chance to heal one, even
Is
though
that
I've
what he
always
said?
wanted to." Yeah,
Oh, I missed that. Oh, that must have
yeah,
went
it's
right
when they're
past me. It
fixing
was a fast conversation.
Yeah, when they're fixing the valve since the beginning, and it's like
Oh, it
this
was Eric
is
LaSalle's character. I thought you meant the son.
yes,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, Eric LaSalle says it.
Okay, okay. Wow.
Yeah,
God, I missed that. What a bummer.
and it's the second person, and it's like that realization that, you know, with the mutants gone, all of that hatred, that wasn't everyone. Not everyone wanted them gone.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know,
No way. Yeah.
and it's nice to see that little bit of good side come out. That even with so few left, there's still people out there that wanted them to be able to live their life.
Right. And well, now they're fucking unicorns, right?
Yeah.
They're hard to find, so they're more precious now. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. And then that scene when the Doctor pulls up his shirt and he has all the cuts right there, and it's just like it's hard to see him like that. You're like, how is he alive? And it's because his healing factor is working, but it's working really slowly, you know, and it's just barely. It can't even close up his own wounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And
Definitely weird scene.
Seeing him act that way, and, you know, seeing Wolverine know that he is fucked up and still go through it and still have that persona of nothing you can do to help me. I've already accepted that. You need to accept it and leave me alone.
Right.
All right. Nothing you're saying is helping me in any way. I got this. I know what I'm doing. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die on my own terms. Is what I felt like he was saying.
Yeah. I do think once they got to the safe haven Eden with all the other child mutants, it was a nice scene, but the movie really tried to really slow down there for me until we got to the next epic action scene. Just because, I don't know, it was just a little slow for me watching a bunch of kids. It's kind of like Maze Runner. That can get slow sometimes when you're just dealing with the kids around the campfire, you know.
And I did think it was interesting that you see the very serum that started it all, that, you know, made Logan go insane in some of the earlier movies, is what's helping him heal now.
Yeah.
I think that was
Well,
a very
I guess
interesting
it's
moment to
been
see.
worked on, you know, obviously.
Well, it's not really worked on. It's that, you know, they figured out that taking it in smaller doses helps their powers manifest stronger, but it doesn't overwhelm them. That's what Richter says when he says to use it in small dosages. It doesn't make him overwhelm. It still does if you take all of it, the normal dosage. But if you take it in lesser, it helps your powers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and then which leads to the best scene in the whole movie is when they're fighting and Laura thinks that he's abandoned her, and he takes it all, right. He's running, he can't keep up because he's sick and he's just not strong enough. So he takes it all, and then you don't see him. You don't see him take it. You don't see him at all. That you just cut back to the kids fighting, and then you just hear him like growl in the back and like, I'm coming, and you're just like, holy shit, dude, when is Logan gonna get here and shit on everybody? That is definitely the best scene in the movie for me. I love that scene. Not even seeing him, just hearing him like yell in the background, and everybody knows he's coming, and you guys are fucked, which is awesome.
It really was, and it just gives you that feeling of warmth inside, knowing that this is the real deal. This is what you all remember. And what you think of Wolverine, this is what you think of. You don't think of this old beat down man. You think of this dude hell-bent on killing everyone around him.
Yeah. Yeah, incredible scene. Just watching him and her fight together is an incredible scene. And then you get the clone Wolverine come out, and you're like, well, it's over. There's nothing you can do. This is how they're going to kill Wolverine with Wolverine. And you're like, this sucks dick, man. And then finally Laura hops in and helps to fight him off. And then we get the adamantium bullet to the head.
I think it was such a great scene. Two scenes, though, is when Xander Rice, the Doctor, is talking to Logan and about how, like, you killed my father. And Logan, in perfect ceremonial fashion, similar to Indiana Jones, just pulls out a gun, shoots him in the face.
Yeah.
It's just such a perfect moment where...
Well, it's a good callback because both him and Laura have to use a gun to end what they need to end here, which is definitely rare for them, right?
Yeah. And also in that fight scene with the X-23 and the X-24, Laura and the clone, it's such a great scene seeing how almost on equal ground they are. Yeah. Laura, this little girl, this young mutant, is able to fight off a clone of Wolverine. And not just fight him off, hold her own. Like, she's right there with him the entire way.
Yeah, it's definitely insane, and just to watch her, it's so fast. Like all her fight scenes are incredibly fast. Like it reminds me of Black Widow in some of her fight scenes, of how
Uh,
fast and brutal they were, especially the ones that are in Civil War. Those kind of scenes just like get me going, man. I was loving that.
and something we kind of we skipped over, but something I wanted to bring up is about Laura and how she was genetically cloned, or she wasn't genetically cloned. The DNA when Wolverine was used
Yeah,
to make her. What was so interesting was Charles Xavier talking about how she only has two claws on her hands because of her gender, because she's a female. And it just really is a callback to a lot of the backstories and comic legends about the different characters and how they would be as their counterparts.
sure.
And to see her have a claw on her foot as well, in both feet, and then two on her hands, really was a great show of how she may be Wolverine's daughter, but she is, for all intents and purposes, a different person. She's a different being because she is a
Yeah,
different gender.
yeah. It's also worth saying that I don't think clone is the right word because they do have a mother. Like it's
No,
more
I
like
agree. I
artificial insemination.
Yeah,
That's kind of close. So the whole father daughter thing actually makes more sense that way since they actually do have a mother and it's more like insemination instead of cloning.
yeah. I apologize. That was poor wording.
Yeah. So
Um,
I do like those scenes, especially we get the adamantium bullet scene. I think it's worth saying that there's some big continuity issues with the adamantium bullet because Wolverine does get shot 4 times in the head with adamantium bullet in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and that's what
yeah.
erases his memory. So we have some big continuity issues, but I do understand why they needed it to kill him because they don't have any other way to kill him.
Could also be that it's a stronger, like, bigger dosage of adamantium, possibly. Like there are different things, but I definitely see what you're saying because he does pop those bullets out of his head
Yeah.
in Wolverine. They didn't even go through.
No, they
And this
just hit
one,
him
it's
in
like
the
a
head. Yeah.
buckshot. Like that reminded me of Terminator 2. When he
Right.
shot
Yeah.
the T2 and
Yeah. It looks a
just
lot like
blows
Terminator, dude.
apart.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't mind them using the adamantium bullet to kill him because there's just no other way to kill Wolverine, especially young Wolverine. So without using some kind of thing to stop his healing factor. So yeah, I don't mind it. And then we get the amazing scene with him on the stump, and Laura's there, and she calls him Daddy for the first time, which is a very emotionally rising scene as he's about to die. And then he says, "This is what it feels like," and I don't know if that's referring to death or family. I imagine it's death because he did have a pretty solid family in X-Men.
He did, but the love thing, he never got to truly love someone except for in Origins.
I don't
He
know.
made
He
him,
loved
he cared
Jean.
about Jean, but
No,
he
he
never
loved
got to.
Jean. Like
He
he
never got
has
to truly
extreme
be with
dreams
her.
about her.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've heard a lot of different theories. Some people are saying it's love. Some people are saying it's family. Some people are saying it's death because he's never died ever. So I assume that it's death because he's literally on death's doorstep. I would have thought it was family because of the Charles scene when he's talking to Clone Logan about I don't deserve this and this is what family feels like because that's like a nice setup. But Logan wasn't there. It was Clone Logan.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's up in the air for interpretation for sure.
Going from that, I think that in general in this movie, the emotions and the pain that we're seeing from Logan is something that we've never seen before from really any superhero in this genre of movies.
Yeah.
Where, you see in the very first, or one of the very first scenes after he kills the gangbangers, when he's sitting at the faucet and there's just pus and ooze coming out of the wounds from his blades, his claws on his arm, where it's not healing properly. And you're starting to see that, the age old thing that he does feel the pain of cutting open the skin to bring his claws out every single time.
Yeah.
It's more pronounced now because it's not even healing afterwards.
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely it's hard to watch movie sometimes. And the death scene I think is very honest and very deserved where they bury him next to the water like they buried Charles next to the water, and then you get the rocks and then the cross, and then the very end scene is with Laura turning the cross over into an X, which is just an awesome scene.
And it leads me to wonder, if they do move forward with X-23s being the next step in the X-Men franchise, which it could be. I'm not sure if it will be or not,
Well, it's
but
worth. Let me stop you right there for 1 second.
yeah.
It is worth saying that they are in talks to take Jennifer Lawrence and the guy from Wanted, whose name I can't remember, the new Charles Xavier, um, and talking about doing a full reboot back to the beginning with keeping those two characters. So it is worth saying that they have no plans for more X-Men after Logan with X-23. There's no plans for that, but that door is definitely open.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's always going to be a possibility because everybody's going to love this movie. I mean, it made $93 million at the box office first weekend, and it's not going to drop much next weekend.
See, you saying that now because I didn't know this.
Yeah.
That kind of scares me because I feel like that takes everything that This series, this generation of X-Men is 17 years old. I'm 21. That's a good majority of my life.
Yeah.
And to just see it rebooted and to see Hugh Jackman go away and to see Patrick Stewart go away from the series, it's kind of scary for me. I know it's not something that I'm gonna be super happy about. And I can think of it similar to how people felt about the Star Trek series being rebooted. That's kind of a scary thought for me, but
now, with that being said, I
really
love those
hope
Star
it does
Trek
well.
movies. I thought those Star Trek movies were great.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
They came out amazing.
I'm totally for a reboot, and I think it's inevitable they will reboot this franchise because it's a money maker. No matter how bad or good the movies are, they're going to make money off them. So I think there will be a little bit of time between this and the reboot, so that should be interesting. But I don't know. My fingers are crossed for Laura or Daphne Keane to keep the X-23 and kind of go that route, maybe a few years down the road.
Yeah, I really hope they do. I think that it leaves the door wide open. I do want to talk about this one thing that we should have talked about a little bit ago, is that fight scene with all of the X-23s killing off Void. And Jesus Christ, did they overdo it? And can we talk about how a lot of them seemed a lot stronger than they probably should have been at that age? You talk about some of the X-Men in the original films and their powers.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these X-23s had the same level of power, if not more, at a really young age, which is kind of like, if we do get an X-23 film, that'll be really interesting to see how they try and deal with leveling out their abilities.
If we are going to have an X-23 film, I would like to see it later. I don't really want to see a kid X-Men film. I'd rather much see like an 18 and older X-Men film. So I would hope that it's down the road farther, just because I don't really want to see a kid X-Men film, but I'm open to it, But yeah, no, I think you're right. There's definitely some things to overcome there.
What else you want to talk about going toward? I'm really, really upset to see this series end. I'm really upset to see Hugh Jackman go. It was a really good way to encompass the superhero genre that started in the 2000s. It really encompassed around Wolverine. To see it end here is kind of, it's bittersweet.
Yeah, well, it's an incredible film, so I'm happy that it's a great movie and we get a great Logan send-off, because the other two Wolverine movies aren't that great. Origins Wolverine sucks and is touted as one of the worst superhero movies ever, and The Wolverine is very cartoony as well, even though the same director directed this and The Wolverine. So I don't know. I like the movie. I think we should end this here because this video is getting super long. I will put Justin's Twitter down in the description below, along with whatever else he wants me to put down there. My Twitter will be down there as well, and we will catch you guys on the flip side. Later.